The button has been pressed. We are live. There's always a little bit of a delay because we have to wait for the little red symbol that says you are live. So hello everybody. So I'm taking over Christina's bouncy buoyant hello that she always does at the beginning of live lunch. She's not with us today. She has a couple of days off, well deserved. So it's just the three of us for live lunch. So welcome if you are joining us on YouTube, on Green Umbrella's Facebook, and are we on Christina's LinkedIn profile?
Not today, no, we're not.
Not today, no. So we don't always when she's not here. But wherever you're watching, drop a comment in, say hello. We'll give you a little shout out. And here we are, back to school, back to work. Moaning about the traffic on the roads already this morning. It's only the first day back.
And wondering whether to put the heating on because it's suddenly freezing cold.
It's not great, is it?
No.
Is it acceptable to put the heating on in September?
I think so, yeah.
Maybe
definitely.
Yeah. Mark's shaking his head.
No.
I can't believe it's Thursday already. Just a bank holiday totally throws you out, doesn't it?
Definitely, yeah.
So how are we here? But how are you both? How is everybody?
Yeah, all good. Yeah, busy week because it's only a 4-day week.
Yeah.
trying to squeeze the 5 days work into 4. Always fun.
Yeah.
So what's going on in the world of marketing? So we often talk, don't we, about kind of the social media updates and what's happening in our world in terms of what we're working on. But it feels like there has been a bit of news this week. Some weeks it's a slow news week in that there's not many updates that are going on. But yeah, there's been a little bit of news around this week, I guess, hasn't there? So Jane, I know you've spotted a few things.
I have, yes. Like you said, they're not massive updates, but there's a lot of sort of little things that have happened. So the first one I've spotted today, that Twitter are running a safety mode test. Hopefully they'll roll this out because I think it's actually a really good idea. So basically, if you are getting a lot of online abuse, so especially if you're famous or whatever, or whatever, you can click this safety mode button, and basically we'll just switch your account into privacy mode for 7 days. You can still interact with people who you regularly talk to, so it doesn't fully shut down your account, but it just means that anyone that you don't follow or anyone who you don't regularly have interactions with, they won't be able to see your account. It will just be private. And then after the 7 days, you can switch it back on or you can leave it in privacy mode. I think if after a couple of days you're happy again, you can turn it off, but the automatic thing is 7 days. So I thought that was a really good idea, given that some of the sort of abuse that's been happening recently on Twitter. Yeah,
I think, like you say, that's a great idea and a temporary thing because, a lot of the abuse that people get is often centered around a specific, I think we often focus on sports people because, because Mark and I particularly are sports fans, but there's always an event and people will want to kind of, put the comments in, troll them, whatever, but then it soon becomes kind of old news. So the fact that you've got that 7-day option, that sounds like quite a smart move from Twitter.
Definitely. Like you said, this is yesterday's tip paper then, isn't it? So people have forgotten by the time the week's up, hopefully.
Yeah, it's all forgotten about. So
along the same lines of that as well, Instagram are now asking new account users to put in their birthday. I know it's not quite the same as the Twitter thing, but it's to do with protecting children and vulnerable people so that they don't end up with lots of people who are underage having Instagram accounts. Of course, you could lie about your birthday, but at least it's a prompt to make people think, am I old enough to be on this and responsible enough to be on it? But which also is a good move from Instagram as well, I think.
So,
excellent. I've also got some Clubhouse news if you want that as well. Nobody uses Clubhouse.
You're kind of like firing the news out. News.
That's fine. Got my list in front of me. I don't know who uses Clubhouse now. As we said before, it's sort of died a bit of a death, but maybe they're starting to bring out some new things to try and spark people's interest again, because the next thing that they're bringing out is what's called spatial audio effects. Apparently people think it's a bit flat just listening to the sound on their phone, so these audio effects are supposed to make it feel like you're actually in a room. So if someone talks on the left, you'll hear the sound on the left or something. And I mean, I guess that's going to work better if you've got headphones in rather than your phone just sat on the table. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if it'll make people come back to the platform or not really, but they're obviously trying to do things to encourage people.
I'd be interested to see usage stats on Clubhouse, because it was kind of the downloads and the uptake was probably, if there was a graph, it would be a really steep spike. And it was, and you know, we often joke about Christina being Clubhouse Christina. It's one of her little nicknames that Paul has for her. I'm not even sure if Christina's using it that much anymore, is she?
She hasn't mentioned it, no.
No.
So maybe it is. So yeah, I'll be interested to see if the drop in usage is as steep as the uptake, or if it's just a sort of slow peter out. But yeah, if you're a Clubhouse user and you're watching, just put a comment in. Let us know if you are still using it and if you're finding it useful. If it gives you a bit of a return, you know, whether that's just connections or actual business. But yeah, be very interested to see. Now I can just see as well that Paul has commented. So I don't have the power to bring it on screen. Yeah. So Paul, you've stolen the thunder of one of my news stories that I was going to talk about. LinkedIn, indeed, are discontinuing stories at the end of September. So this is one of the things that I saw this week. And they have sent an announcement out. So if you're a page admin, you quite possibly had an email that said, yep, LinkedIn are going to revamp stories, which means they're taking it away at the end of September. So they're kind of rescinding use of it, but it will come back. And they haven't hinted at what's going to change. I can't imagine what's going to change too much. But yeah, so it's going away, but it'll then be, I guess, relaunched or coming back at some point in the future. Again, they don't say when. So they're just letting people know that as from the 30th of September, stories won't be available. And as I read that news story, I thought, I'll just go and have a little look and see if anyone in my network, which is, you know, it's a reasonable sized network. I know it's not all about numbers, but, you know, has anyone put a story on that's there? And nope, not a one. So again, I think if anyone's using stories on LinkedIn, you know, good or bad, whether they're using them and they're kind of not getting a return or not getting any interaction, or particularly if you've got a positive news story, that says, you know, yes, I've used LinkedIn stories and I've got X leads from it. Yeah, we'd be really intrigued to hear. So do you notice them at all when you're on LinkedIn? Do you feel like people are still using them?
I haven't seen one for ages, I don't think. I used it just to try it out when it first started, but I can't recall looking at one for months.
No, me neither. I did a couple when it started for Green Umbrella, but yeah, not recently. But the other thing I saw in one of the articles I read was that some of the feedback was that people didn't want it to be only 24 hours. So I don't know if maybe when it comes back, it might be something a bit better. And apparently you can't get to it from your profile either. So I think that was one of the feedback things. It wasn't there long enough and you couldn't get there from your profile. So it'd be interesting to see whether they do incorporate that in when they bring it back.
Okay, that is interesting. So, you know, I know if it's not 24 hours, I wonder how long it would be.
Well, yeah. And then it's not really a story format, is it? If it's there forever, but who knows? It's more of a pinned post almost, isn't it? So, yeah. Don't know.
So I could see that maybe people might want it there longer if you're not on LinkedIn every day. I mean, we assume a lot of people are, partially because we tend to go on it quite frequently, and also we work in the recruitment space quite a lot, and of course recruiters are on there on a regular basis as well. So and I must also say, we should have said this from the top, so if people were tuning in to see Anthony McCormack today, my husband's just brought me a sausage sandwich.
Oh no! Wow.
Sorry, I'm off now.
It's proper live lunch.
It's so
Today's
good.
topic: watching Amanda eat a sandwich.
So I'll just have to sit here and let it settle for the next half an hour or so.
Rest.
Yeah. Oh, it sounds nice. Anyway, that's driving me. What were we talking about? How long you have a story
Anthony. No, Anthony.
Oh, Anthony, yes. So, talking about recruitment, if you tuned in to see Anthony McCormack from Macstaff, who was going to be our guest on Live Lunch, because Christina is not here and she would have heaps of questions for Anthony, knows him well and would probably interview him superbly. So he's pushed back to the 23rd of September. So we look forward to welcoming you then, Anthony. So a few weeks to go, hence why, again, just us. But yeah, I'd be interested going back to LinkedIn stories as to how long people think they should be there for. I could see the benefit, and that would differentiate it from everyone else's stories.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
They said maybe they need to be there for a week or something. Like you said, it just, I mean, as my personal account, I probably only look at that maybe every 3 or 4 days. Obviously, I go on and do company stuff for us and everything, so I look at that account a lot more. But yeah, maybe if other people are like me, they might only look once a week, mightn't they? So yeah, perhaps that would be better.
Yeah, ditto. I probably go in maybe 2 or 3 times a week, if that. And then realise I've got loads of notifications that have racked up. But I think, people think I'm being rude, probably not replying to their invitation requests or whatnot. But hey ho, there we go. What else? What else is going on this week that we need to share in our social media update or world of marketing update?
Well, not really an update, but I seem to be one of the only members of the team that's got the sort of Facebook update so that we can switch profiles easy. So that does seem to be quite a big improvement in the way that things work, especially for obviously those guys that are running, sort of company pages and things like that. You've got proper full-on company page feed again now, which is obviously really useful for those kind of things. But it's just nice and simple within the app or the desktop. Just literally switch to any of the pages that you're an admin on, and have a look at the page feed. The other thing that I mentioned earlier as well, you can actually switch in Messenger, which is really good in the Messenger app. So again, if you've got a message coming through to a company page, you can actually just really easily look at the messages in that rather than having to go into the business app. So it just makes it a lot simpler. I haven't looked to see how much. You can certainly obviously post and things through that, but whether there's going to, I imagine there's still more tools that you can do through, the proper business side of things. But it's certainly good for looking at news feeds and messages and things like that. Makes it a lot easier.
Sounds good. So Mark, are you one of the only people in the team that's got it?
I think so, yeah, and I'm the one that doesn't actually really need it.
I was going to say, out of everyone in the office and the team, you're probably the one that posts on Facebook the least, either on your own behalf or on behalf of other companies when we're running their profiles. So,
yeah,
and it always makes Christina really frustrated when she's the last one to get any updates.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But no, it definitely that news feed, because obviously I know a lot of our mediators have obviously, mentioned that in the past that when that sort of disappeared or got really hard to find, and then there was also a time where literally there was nothing going in that news feed, or it was from very similar pages. So hopefully they've sorted that out, and will give people a lot more opportunity to engage with other business pages as their business. So that definitely does seem on the surface a big improvement. Fingers crossed. I'll let those who know more to actually analyse it when they get it, though.
I will. I'm going to wait with bated breath, because I think I've had a little moan on here a few times about the most recent updates. So the version I've got, so I don't have the new version like you, Mark. But it's super frustrating when you're trying to run a company page, business page, to try and interact with other businesses. So through the news feed. Things like looking up mentions and stuff like that. It feels like they've just taken a big step backwards. So, yeah, fingers crossed they roll that out to, fingers crossed they roll it out to us, because we're running a lot of business pages, but to everybody that's running a company page sooner rather than later. Feels like it would make life a lot easier again.
The only downside HubSpot is, from my point of view or client's point of view, is they've changed the layout again, and now the profile picture's right in the center. So if sort of cover photos had been designed for where the profile picture was on the left, that is now slap bang in the middle and potentially covering information that was there. But quite amusingly, with my band page, it's actually just blanked out the bass player on our cover photo. But ironically, he's banned from Facebook at the minute, so I wouldn't have a clue anyway. So we'll just leave that there and just pretend there's only 4 of us in the band.
Why is he banned from Facebook? Can we ask? Is that
God knows. I don't know.
Oh, right.
Let's not go there.
Okay, right, sounds a bit dodgy. But good plug for the band, though. So if anybody's local to the Northampton
/Wordsworth band.
Wordsworth band, there you go. So if anybody wants to go and catch their first gig or live music, and you're in the Northampton area,
our first gig back after lockdown might be a little bit ropey, so maybe leave it a while.
Oh, okay. A little bit rusty.
Yeah.
Cool. Speaking of Facebook, not long before we came on here, so forgive me, I don't have all the data, but I was reading a really interesting article from their transparency center. So Facebook transparency, where they, try and be just that, transparent about what they're doing. And it was so the article was in the Recruiting Brainfood newsletter, which comes out every Sunday from our friend Hung Lee. So if you are a recruiter or in that space at all, so if you're like a recruitment marketer, fantastic newsletter, highly recommend, subscribing to it. And it was talking about, so I'm going to click onto it. So if I look like I'm reading, I am. But it was talking about what people see in their news feed. So Facebook wants to show some transparency about what people are seeing. Is it just ads? Because, you often find people will moan going, oh, the stuff I see is not relevant to me. It's adverts. It's from things I'm not interested in. So they've done some research. The research is based in the US, but I think that is generally a good kind of benchmark for what we could be seeing in the UK as well. So consumer habits reasonably mimic each other. I'm sure there are differences, but they'll be minimal. So what it was saying was, looking at Q2 2021, so recent data, it's not sort of years old. So the vast majority of content that people view in their newsfeed, so 57% are posts from either friends or people that you have followed. So, you've actively gone on there and connected with somebody or followed a person. So those are the posts that you're seeing. So that makes up over half of what you'd see in your newsfeed. The next section was just over 19%, which is from groups that you might have joined. So, that might be a community marketing group or a local dog walking group. So anything that you've joined, again, you're active in, that's the kind of next bunch. From there, it's pages you've followed. So if that's, a company page or a business page, and that's about 14%. So again, that could be product updates. So it might feel a bit advertising-y, but it's not a promoted post. It's, it's literally a post that's gone on from, so, for example, when we put on the Green Umbrella page, join us for live lunch, or this is what's going on in the office today. That's what you might see. And then you start to get into the kind of details that Facebook is suggesting to you. So the remaining sort of 9.5% or so is what they would call unconnected posts. So you don't actively like or follow where the post has come from, but it might be because you like X, we think you might like Y. So it's presenting you with data that it thinks you might be interested in. So Facebook, is trying to be transparent, and I can share the link in our comments to this article because I did think it was quite useful. And again, it talks about, whether links are included in posts as well. So kind of says vast majority of content viewed in the newsfeed does not include a link. So 87%. So most of the time it is something that maybe, I don't know, could just be a photo, could be a meme, funny image, something along those lines. So the vast majority didn't have a link to something outside Facebook. So again, perhaps they are trying to show that they're not, it's not necessarily a forum where fake news is shared. So I thought there was some interesting data in there.
Yeah, definitely.
Sounds like a good data Davis in the making.
Exactly. So we really need to get kind of like some little glasses or something, don't I? So I can be like, news in, data just in.
That's for next week. We'll hold you to that.
I can bore you with some more data if you would like.
It's never boring. It's useful.
Useful. Okay, I can inform you with more data to help guide your marketing strategy, dear listeners. So this was one that I did have a bit more of a chance to digest from HubSpot, who again, I love their newsletters. They always have some really useful blogs, articles, lots of stats, lots of infographics, that kind of thing. So marketers out there would recommend subscribing to the HubSpot blog. And this one caught my eye because it's a question that we are asked quite a lot, which is, which social media channels do you get the biggest return on investment for? So, and we all know that, you know, marketing and marketing activity is notoriously hard to manage. So it's always a case of get your analytics, look at what posts work, look at what's going to your website, etc., etc. So I thought this was quite useful to say, you know, they'd obviously surveyed and researched a lot of marketers to say, well, what works for you? I don't think there'll be any surprise in knowing which is the most popular channel or which gives the biggest ROI. So any guesses?
Is it Snapchat?
No, Mark, it's not Snapchat. What do you reckon?
It's got to be Facebook, hasn't it?
Of course, it's Facebook. So 40% of marketers. So hang on again, let me get the actual stat. LinkedIn is another suggestion as well. So, well, I will read a little bit to you just in terms of, you know, what. So the specific they asked was, which social media channels does your company see the most ROI from? So over 40% of the marketers that were surveyed, so businesses and marketers within those businesses, said Facebook was their most effective channel, where they got the highest ROI. So that's 40% for Facebook. The next most popular was Instagram at 30%. So I think it's probably worth noting that this isn't industry specific. So if you broke it down and went, you know, if you were talking to was marketers who worked for, I don't know, kind of hairdressers or beauty therapists, then yes, arguably you would say, well, of course it's going to be Facebook and Instagram. Recruiters, probably LinkedIn. You know, that's obviously the more professional platform. So this is kind of more of a generic report in general. But yes, 40% of marketers say Facebook is their most effective channel for ROI. 30% Instagram. So considering Facebook own Instagram as well, they're probably pretty happy about that, I would say. And then, yes, it was LinkedIn as a third. So, but only about 10% of the people surveyed said that gave them the best ROI. And they're languishing down then in the bottom. So in order: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. And then once you're getting into the lower, you know, YouTube and downwards, it's less than 10% of people said they saw an ROI from it. So you've got YouTube, then Twitter, and maybe about 1% said Snapchat.
No Pinterest either.
No Pinterest. No Pinterest. Yeah, we don't talk about Pinterest very often because it is quite a small / niche social marketing platform, social media platform. So, Paul, yes, you've got a medal because you LinkedIn bronze, as it were. So, which seems to, if you're in the Olympics, it seems to be a new verb, whether you podiumed or medalled. So I'm sure they weren't verbs before, but yes, so you've medalled and you're on the podium with LinkedIn in third place. But yeah, so I thought that was pretty useful. And again, you know, HubSpot do back up their reports with lots of stats about, you know, why basically. So Facebook, 2.8 billion, so not million, billion active monthly users on Facebook currently. So that is a huge reach. There are over 200 million businesses on there. And I think probably, you know, as we know, and as we often inform and coach our clients, because you can be so targeted with Facebook. So when you are doing paid ads, you can really kind of niche it down and look at kind of location, interest, that kind of thing. That's why it has a really good ROI. And you can control your budget really easily. So, and the daily budget is, now I always forget this off the top of my head. Is it £2 or £1?
You can spend £1. It's about the minimum. But you saying about how targeted it is, it reminded me of a campaign we ran a little while ago for a company, and they were doing a door drop on certain streets in a town, and we ran an ad to go with it, and we literally put in those postcodes of those streets. So only the people who'd had the door drop through their letterbox got the advert as well. And so that is how targeted that you can make a Facebook ad. So it's no wonder, like you said, that it's got great ROI, really.
Yeah. And that really is a fantastic example of a kind of joined up campaign You know, and I've noticed a few coming through, even in my feed, that are obviously targeted. So, and it's sort of calling women of Southampton or, you know, the specific suburbs. So again, they've obviously targeted, and they're, you know, trying to target women to go to gyms in this area, or it's a personal trainer, for example. So yeah, I think people are kind of cottoning on to that and using it now. So you don't have to be, you know, you don't have to have like heaps and heaps of training to use Facebook ads. You can muddle your way through it. It is useful to have some coaching just to know best practice and to make sure you are going to make that budget go a bit further for you.
Definitely. Well, you know where to come if you need some Facebook ad coaching.
Exactly.
Small plug there.
I do remember I did a marketing campaign years ago. So we're probably going back about, I don't know, maybe about 15 years. So before Facebook, and did coincide door drop with email marketing and press advertising as well. So, and again, and that worked really well. So, and then it was kind of a follow. It was a business to business campaign rather than consumer. So it was kind of, right, well, on this day, you know, in theory, if they read the trade magazine, they would have seen the ad. They would have got the email that morning. If their post arrived, they would have had this, you know, this item in the post. And then, you know, that afternoon, they would have had a phone call, or maybe the following day they would have had a phone call just to see if it had landed. So yeah, hyper targeted, not always the cheapest, but way better and more strategic than just a kind of whole, well, I'll just do a kind of mass direct mail piece or a mass email piece without any thought behind it really, and just the whole slinging mud at a wall and hoping some of it sticks, basically. It's just being a little bit more thought out.
It's like they say as well, isn't it? Don't you have to have 9 target points or something before you actually buy something? So yeah, that kind of targeted hitting people, it works really well, doesn't it? So.
Yeah. Who was it? The Social Talent. So it's a company based in Ireland that again do a lot of work in the recruitment space. But they gave a really good analogy that if I came up to you and was like, Jane, can I have £1? I mean, because you're kind and generous, you'd probably be like, oh, she must need £1. You'd probably give it to me. But on the whole, if I went up to a stranger, maybe let's use a stranger analogy and said, can I have £1? They'd be like, no. And you might say, oh, go on, give me £1. Please, can I have £1? Please. And once you get beyond 5, they'll probably be like, oh, just have £1 and go away. So, and I don't, you know, they weren't advocating to say pester people. But it's not until that point where someone's gone, like, it may be the 5th, 6th or 7th time where someone goes, well, hang on, why do you need £1? You know, what's so good about you, or what's your need, or, you know, why do I want to invest in you, for example? So, but the first instinct is to kind of go, you know, what, don't bother me with this, whatever. So, and I thought it was a really good analogy, and it kind of brought it to life a bit. And, you know, any sales training as well. And so the sales and marketing part of it, if we're saying to people, you can't just do one, you can't just do one ad, one podcast, one newsletter. It has to be consistent. You know, you do it for months, basically. Because if you expect to do it once and get a return, it's just like, it doesn't work like that. If marketing worked like that, everyone would do that one thing. And it doesn't. There's a reason why all the big brands do consistent marketing. There's a reason why small brands do consistent marketing, because it works.
And especially if you're a vaguely new company as well, because the last thing you want to do, and people haven't heard of you, is buy this, do this, whatever. You need to give them something first. You need to let them know who you are and how you offer value and things like that. And then when they've sort of got to know you a little bit, then you can start saying, buy my product. Otherwise, you're just another person selling at them. Exactly.
So, you know, from a, you know, so thinking from a social media point of view or digital marketing, you need the footprint there, because it's that whole know, like, and trust as well. So if you kind of do that whole buy this, and there's no history of interaction, there's no history of posts or people kind of going, great product, great service or whatever, they're not going to buy from you. So you need to get those foundations in place. So, yeah,
definitely. Although I have been guilty before of buying something directly from an ad from a company I've never heard of before. But so it does happen. Just not very often.
I do think that might have been, well, I don't know. Was that a symptom of lockdown though? Because I was guilty of doing that during lockdown.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Just seeing an ad and being like, yes, I
Oh, that's
definitely need a feather duster that fits behind the radiators.
There was no lockdown in 2018, Amanda.
That's how you filled up your Christmas present cupboard, isn't it? It's all those things that you see adverts for.
I do. And, you know, and the Christmas present cupboard, I have been adding to it. So I have, you know, sorry to say the C word so soon, but I have started my Christmas shopping. Don't worry, I'm always panicked by the end. It's only just because even though I feel like I should know better, I am a sucker for marketing. So if I see some good marketing, I'm like, and people have got their summer sales on, so I'm like, that'll do nicely.
Have you bought the turkey already? Because they said there might just be a meat shortage because of the drivers.
No,
I never thought about that.
I was trying to convince my husband we should go on holiday for Christmas. So, but we'll see. Anyway. What else? Any more in the world of news and marketing, things that have happened this week, things that have been released this week?
I do have one more thing that was just along the line, because we were talking about advertising, was that TikTok are rolling out boosted posts. So all businesses on TikTok will now have a boosted post option. I'm not sure if it's immediately or just rolling out now. The objectives you can have are video views, website visits, obviously you need to put a link in for that, or just to get more followers. The only thing you can't boost a post on is something with copyrighted music on it. But if you've got your own music or no music at all, then that's fine. So I'm interested to see where that goes. We obviously don't do much with TikTok advertising yet, but who's to say we won't in the future?
Yeah, definitely. And I'm seeing it creeping in, TikTok. So I'm seeing more and more people that are creating TikToks and sharing them on LinkedIn. So it's coming over. It's coming over a little bit, isn't it? So not like Snapchat, which is kind of dying a death. I think. Well, I say it's dying a death.
Not among the youngsters.
No, it really isn't.
Still
So, like, you know, as you guys know, and I think I've mentioned it on Live Lunch, I had my 18-year-old nephew living with us for the summer. He's now gone home, which is quite nice. It's quite nice to have the house back, much as I love him. But it was a real revelation to me seeing what his kind of online behaviors were. And it's all about the Snapchat and the TikTok. Really is. So
the Snapchats.
The Snapchats and but it really is. So, and he was saying, oh yeah, I've got 100 plus unread WhatsApp messages. I'm in too many groups. I don't always read them. So they do use it to communicate, but not, it's kind of where parents are as well. So it's that whole, we don't go over there too much because that's where the grown-ups hang out. So yeah, Snapchat and TikTok was where it's at. So if that's your demographic, it's where you need to be.
Absolutely.
There we go. Anything else that we need to impart our wisdom on?
Don't think I have.
No, nothing else from me.
So I think we'll do a short but sweet one this week, because I think a lot of people will be, I know it is, we mentioned it right at the beginning, it's back to school, I think, for a lot of people today, taking their kids back to school today. So yes. So if you did tune in and you're here or you're watching on catch up, thank you for being along for the ride again. We will see you next week, as usual, Thursday, 12 o'clock. Christina will be back in the room next week. So it'll be the four of us. I think it's the four of us. There's no holidays, is there? I know there's
no.
I'm here.
All around next week.
Excellent. So yeah, 12 o'clock, Green Umbrella Facebook page, Green Umbrella YouTube channel, and we'll be back on Christina's LinkedIn profile as well. So yeah, thank you for joining us. We'll say goodbye and give you a wave.
Yeah, you need to do the wave.
Enjoy my sausage sandwich.
Oh, lovely. I'm not jealous at all.
Sorry, everyone. We'll see you next week. Thanks for being along.
Bye.
Bye.